Infinity War.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. I loved it.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was a much anticipated movie. Now, some great trivia. Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man, was not allowed to read the script for this film since he revealed too many secrets for Spider-Man: Homecoming, which means he's got a runny mouth.
Yeah, little Tommy, yep.
So he apparently doesn't get the idea of like keeping stuff secret, embargoes, or anything having to do with secrecy. So they just they made sure. Well, now you don't have any information to leak. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an easy decision now for MI6. They're not going to hire Tom Holland for anything. He's not to be trusted.
This is the 19th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. 19 movies. So
the Russo brothers, Anthony and Joe, directed it.
Comedy background guys too.
And that was the thing I liked about it. And I mean, the thing I like about all these Marvel movies is they're not. The jokes work. They work within the universe. They work within the character that's saying them. They're not just like action movie quips.
Right. Their jokes in these movies are character driven.
Yeah.
Which makes them all the more, first of all, organic. Like it makes more sense. And then they're also funnier. It makes a lot more sense. And God, even just like the throwaway stuff with just Thor calling Rocket Rabbit all the time was hilarious.
So funny. All right, Rabbit. It's just like when Thor comes in and they're talking about how huge and rippling his muscles are, and Chris Pratt's getting jealous. It was so funny the way they wrote that, the way they blocked it, acted it.
Yes.
Zoe Saldana,
right.
The thing she's saying, Chris Pratt's getting mad because they're obviously now they're dating, they're in love or whatever. The integration of all of these separate Marvel worlds together.
Yes.
Like bringing in Guardians of the Galaxy into this. I mean, it was
Doctor Strange. Just putting all together, like, to see Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Spider-Man all together. It was really fun. And what it did, and, a movie like this has such a, it has such a danger of being like, well, it's bloated, it's overblown, it's too crowded, and there's too much, it's just explosions and people fighting. And, you run that risk of when you make a movie like this. But they really just threaded that needle of like, yeah, it's a big budget, action spectacle, but it's also grounded in these characters that we've come to know and love over the past 10 years.
Right.
So it works on a level that no other film has worked before, really, when you look at it. Like, it's not like even the Star Wars movies. It's not like Han Solo had a separate movie. Luke Skywalker had a separate movie. Yoda had a separate movie. Right. Then we all saw them together in, one movie later. It's this has never really been done before in the cinematic universe. I mean, obviously in comics, it's been done since for many, many years. It's been done in comics,
which is why it's so great because they took this thing that I love. We all love as comic book readers,
right? Like you love reading like a Daredevil or an X-Men, and like, oh, Spider-Man's in this issue.
You go so crazy for those when they do the crossover apps or issues, or when they do the ones where everyone comes on board. There's all these appearances,
big
and
Secret Wars fight.
Those are great. So the fact that it just makes sense that within the MCU cinematic world they would do this,
right? And I like the way they kind of broke everybody up, like, because there's so many characters in this movie that they literally had to break them all off into study groups, because each, that
was how they sat and wrote it. They had a board with 3x5 cards, like, this is this study group.
Like they didn't all right, Guardians of the Galaxy are here, Avengers are over here. They didn't do that. It was like, well, no, we're putting Thor with Rocket. We're putting, Doctor Strange with Iron Man. We're putting Captain America with Black Panther.
They then split up. They split up Guardians of the Galaxy and intermingled it, which was cool.
Yes.
Because like you say, if they would have just done the study group model, it would have been like, all right, but that's not what I want to see. I don't want to see each one of these individual Marvel worlds operate autonomously within this film. I want to see them interact.
Yeah,
so
you wanna
that's what
see 'em mix
I
up.
thought they did was
Mix it
great.
up. Yeah, and it was it was the kind of movie that, like, you look at it, and the other thing too, which is interesting, is that never did you see anywhere like part one, because really that's what it is. They shot this one and the next Avengers movie back to back, which will be released next summer. But this is a part one for sure. Of course, it's a part one. So they said they didn't even want to reveal the title for part two because they said even that's a spoiler. So they're like letting people, see the first one before they even release the title for the second one. I also liked the way it picked up literally right after Thor Ragnarok. I mean,
Yes.
it was, you have the stinger for Thor Ragnarok and literally goes right into this movie.
Well, they picked up right where Guardians of the Galaxy 2 left off.
Yes.
They picked up where Thor Ragnarok left off. They picked up where Civil War left off. I mean, it was really they're so smart. They obviously been mapping this out for years.
Right.
So there wasn't just like, oh, wait, where should we?
Yeah.
They kept their timelines and it made sense. There wasn't anything where I went, wait a minute.
Yeah. The only thing you went, well, where's Ant-Man and Hawkeye? And you realize, well, Ant-Man's got a movie coming out this year, so they're going to explain why he's not in this giant battle. The other thing that was interesting is I was reading that it was a tonal issue, too, the reason they left Ant-Man out, which I totally get, because if you remember the first Ant-Man, it skewed lighter, and it also skewed, I would even say younger, like more of a family adventure film kind of thing, because Infinity War was kind of dark. It was fairly.
We'll get
fairly
into
dark.
the ending on the spoiler app, but it's
It's definitely a darker film. Even with the lighthearted moments in it, there's still a lot of very dark and very violent parts in this film. But never enough to push the PG-13 rating, because that is the cash cow rating. It's like you're not going to see an R Avengers movie ever.
No way.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And they also did a great job too of when they went to Wakanda. We just
left Wakanda.
We just left Wakanda, which is an awesome film, and so it was like, it was like Black Panther is here, and his movie was great, and
and it's still here, like it's still in the theaters.
Oh, I know, which is crazy. And you were saying
that, the people are actually doing double features because Black Panther's tracking actually went up after Infinity War came out, so people are going to see both films at the same, like in like one sitting. Like they're going, oh, we'll see Black Panther, then we'll see Infinity War.
Marvel.
How smart was that? And like I was saying before, and I put this out to the fans. Has this ever happened before where the same character, not the same actor, but the same character is theatrically released in two movies that are out in the theaters at the same time? Somebody had responded that maybe James Bond might have been in the same, possibly one year where they overlapped a little bit. But I don't know to the extent that, that this is where they're literally in first run release at the same time.
It's crazy, and I think it's the suggestion that Jackie Cation always makes, which is watch these movies in order.
Yes.
And it makes like the lesser ones like Iron Man 2 actually not that bad when you watch it in order.
Even the Hulk is better when you watch him in order.
Right.
Now, and this is the kind of movie too, Avengers Infinity War. If you haven't watched any of the other movies, or if you've only seen a few of them, you're going to be kind of lost as far as like what the characters are, what they do, and what's happened to them in the past. You can still enjoy the action, which is, there's a ton of it. The villain is pretty straightforward. Yeah, you get it. He's horrifying.
Thanos, pretty giant dude that's blowing up worlds.
Yeah, that wants to destroy half the life in the universe. Got it. Yeah.
Pretty solid bad guy.
Don't need a lot of backstory there.
No ambiguous.
Yeah. But this movie makes no apologies for like, well, this is for all the people who have seen the previous 18 movies. This is for you. Yeah.
If you're just dipping your toe in this, which is also kind of brilliant on Marvel's part, because there's got to be people going, well, I want to know more. Okay.
Well, there's all these other movies.
Go watch them. Go watch all of them. Go spend some money. Get them on demand, whatever, and watch them all in order, because you'll love this universe. Because the person I saw the movie with wasn't like a diehard Marvel person. Had seen some of them.
Right.
And they had a great time.
So, but they weren't like, they'd seen enough that they had enough information going in.
Right. There's some stuff they just missed, but it's all sort of
And questions like, wait, where did that Infinity Stone come from?
Right.
Weren't really necessary for them to enjoy the film.
No. He just needed all 6 of them, and when that happens, then the world blows up.
Right. He fits them on his glove, and then boom.
Yeah, he's got his crazy Infinity Stone,
Gauntlet.
Infinity Gauntlet, and then that's that. And it was a fun movie to see with another person because you're just laughing. You know what I mean? The whole theater.
Yeah.
And I saw it on a Friday night, and I wanted that packed theater.
Right.
Usually I like going when it's not crowded.
Right.
But it was a packed house.
It's the most crowded I've seen the movie theater in a long time.
Oh.
Like normally I go dad time, which is Friday at like 11 a.m. or whatever, and it's empty. But, this is the movie that the whole family wanted to see, so we went Sunday afternoon. But Sunday afternoon at 3 is usually, there's some people there, but it's not that crowded. Completely packed, like a Friday or Saturday night. Completely packed.
Oh, I had to buy them in advance, and I went to a theater that it didn't have food, but it had the reclining seats because I knew this movie's going to be long.
Yes, it was indeed.
And I had a blast. I mean, I just had a blast watching it. I saw it in 3D.
Oh, wow.
And I got to tell you, some of these Marvel movies have actually turned my opinion of 3D around overall. When it's clear they just slap it on and it's like, why does this dumb movie doesn't need 3D? But these Marvel, like Doctor Strange, I remember I saw in 3D, and holy shit, did that make a difference.
Right.
And in this one, because you go into the crazy sort of Thanos universes, and you go to
different
planets, and when you do that stuff, that's when this 3D was worth it.
Right.
And I'm glad that I saw it in 3D. It was a lot of fun.
Did you see it in like the Man Chinese Dolby Laser 3D? Is that okay?
No. The person I
just
saw
the standard.
They live on the west side, and I couldn't talk them into going on
to the Man Chinese excursion,
which is.
So now the interesting thing is the Russo brothers, who directed the film, originally had confirmed that Captain Marvel would be in the movie. However, this was a good decision, and I'm sure the Marvel bosses had something to do with it. The character would not, and she would instead make her debut in her own movie, which is, of course, the way that a lot of these characters get introduced. There's 2 different ways that they get introduced. They make a cameo, like Black Panther, in another film, and then they get their own film, or they literally just start out with their own film and then they show up in an Avengers movie. So, but for a movie like this, where it's already so crowded, I thought there's no reason to introduce another character here at all, especially if they have their own movie coming out next year. So I thought that was a smart idea.
Well, I gotta reiterate or redact something. Actually, reading this information that we have, that the film, I was a little mistaken. The film takes place 4 years after the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, because in the MCU timeline, the 2 Guardians movies took place in the same year.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, but in reading that now, it actually makes even more sense, because the Guardians, when we see them, when they're introduced in Infinity War, they're very sort of comfortable. They've been out being the Guardians for a while.
And Groot's already a teenager.
Which was which was cool. And God, what's a hilarious joke when Groot just goes, "I am Groot," and everyone goes, "Whoa,
yeah. Language,
hey, buddy!" That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And also, too, it makes this makes more sense because him and Zoe Saldana's character is Gamora, right?
Yes.
You can tell they've been a couple for a while,
right? And
that was really done well. Yeah, this movie, it's so well thought out. This whole universe. So, and I love too. The other thing is the new look for Captain America.
Yes. Now, one of the things that I think they may have been going for is, Steve Rogers in the comics has quit being Captain America, like I think once or twice, and then he might be renamed as Nomad or the Captain. Like, they don't necessarily make a specific reference to whether or not he's a different superhero name now, but the thing about it is it doesn't matter. It's still Captain America.
Well, they're doing 2 things in my opinion. One, they're giving a tip of the hat to these times in the comic where he stopped being Captain America, and also we just saw Civil War, so it would stand to reason that he's like, well, if you guys are going to excommunicate me, then I'm not wearing your uniform.
Right, exactly. I wouldn't wear the stars and stripes anymore, or have, a red, white, and blue shield.
Sorry. I'm going to go black and go,
Yeah, I'm going to go emo.
I'm going to go emo and I'm going to go beard and,
Yep. And hang out in in Wakanda for a while. So, Hugh Jackman expressed interest to appear in an Avengers film. You know who else expressed interest? Every other actor in Hollywood.
Yeah, man.
So,
I would have loved to have seen Wolverine in this.
Yeah,
I wish they could have figured that out.
So it was. I don't even know if the deal between Disney and Fox is finalized yet, but they don't get the rights back to those characters until the cinematic rights until that's over. But, Jackman also stated he would not be reprising his role and would love to see someone else play the character. Logan was Jackman's last film as Wolverine. But, actors always say that, but every once in a while, it's like when David Duchovny said he's not going to play Fox Mulder anymore.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Sometimes those statements prove to be false.
Well, maybe those statements were based on... a figure that had one less zero.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, well, now, creatively, I think I've changed my mind.
Well, you know what? If someone said, Graham, here we're doing strip poker again. Here's a bunch of money. I'd be like, you got it.
Yes. Let's reboot the shit out of this.
Let's do this. I'll wear a stupid shirt.
Yeah. So, now this movie also, I think what I loved about it too is it was over 2.5 hours long, but it didn't feel like it. It just started and it just didn't let go. It just went. But, at the same time, Marvel just gets their pacing right. Like, you have these big action set pieces, but you also have these character moments, too, even with the villains, So you've got some really cool stuff here and there. So, hi, our guest is here.
Hey!
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Andrea Allan, welcome. Come on in.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
So L.A. County's bigger than Manhattan.
Holy shit, where the fuck am I? Oh my God, I got out and it was a house with the garage door open and a lady was unloading cans and looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I was like, I don't think I'm in the right spot. But thank you for having me regardless.
Yes, welcome.
We
We
were
were
just
just talking about Infinity War.
Yes.
Okay, cool. What's the verdict on that? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, we kind of liked
we
it.
really liked
yeah,
it. We
Yeah,
really
we're
nerded
big
out on
Marvel
it.
fans.
Sure, I would assume, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about how the character moments were still really good in it too, because when you have a big budget blockbuster popcorny movie, a lot of times those moments can either be non-existent or they fall flat because they just feel shoehorned in. But this movie had the benefit of 10 years of movies before it, so you already know these characters. So the character moments meant even a little bit more, I think. So you almost have a shorthand with these characters. So
Did they kill everybody off in this movie? That's what I've been hearing
Well,
about.
we'll talk about that in the spoiler.
Yeah, we
app.
do a
We'll that
separate
later.
spoiler
Excuse
where we
me,
go into
sorry.
So, but there's
But we'll say this.
some adjustments that happen.
Yes, yeah. And, death in comic books and comic book movies, not always permanent.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Yes, especially
I
when you
know.
have something called a time stone.
Yeah, and a billion-dollar franchise.
Right?
When those things happen.
They're not just going to leave a cliffhanger and be
Yeah.
like, that's it, guys.
Yeah, who knows
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. We won't get into the ending in this episode, but, it wasn't as ham-handed as when Superman died in his
boy.
movie. Like, gee, I wonder what's going to happen with a Justice League movie coming
Who
up.
would
Yeah.
know?
There's
Yeah,
no
this-
way he
yeah.
can't come back. He's already dead.
yeah,
but
he's
wait,
not gonna
he's
be the
from another
Justice League
planet
movie.
and he's got green blood. We'll bring him
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
life or something.
And the rocks over his coffin are vibrating. What does that mean?
I mean, do you nerds know that you're getting fucked over when you see the end of that? You're like, I'm going to go see the next one and the next one. Or do you just enjoy it for what it is? And
I think, yeah, for me, I've already been drinking this Kool-Aid since I was a
Sure.
kid, so
Yeah.
I'm
So far in.
I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
well, they'll bring him back,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
just like,
Even when a movie looks like mediocre, you're like, oh, that movie doesn't look that good at all, but I'm still gonna
I'm
see it.
still
Sure.
gonna
Yeah.
see it, and if that person dies, I'm still gonna
Yeah.
go.
We're all in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course. That makes sense. Are you sitting there in the theater ever being like, oh, God, I hate myself for being here? Or are you just trying to soak
I
it
hate
in?
myself for different reasons.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah,
the...
yeah.
This is not the number one thing.
Yeah, when I was in a 50 Shades movie, I think I felt that way.
Yes, I felt a similar way
Yeah.
in the 50 Shades movie.
It's like, I know I have a podcast, I know I have to see this movie, but I just still feel dirty.
It's such a piece of shit. Holy,
Yeah.
oh my God.
I still feel
It's
I
so
still
corny.
unclean. Yeah.
For someone who participates in BDSM, not everyone has like a $7 million dungeon. It's unrealistic. It's unrealistic as a starting point. It happens usually in a basement with a guy that you are very uncomfortable with. It's not accurate.
He's not a good-looking billionaire that has a private jet.
So there's no helicopter involved?
No, it's always some fucking weirdo magician you met on Tinder. Like, let's be realistic about what this world is like.
A weirdo magician you went on Tinder.
That's my superhero movie, is all these weird sex movies. But you know.
That's why I could never go on Tinder. I would just be like, I don't know what this person has in their basement. Even in California where people don't have them because of earthquakes.
Oh, they'll find a way. They'll have a basement in essence.
They'll dig
you
their
know?
own.
Yeah.
They'll have a pop-up basement.
Yeah.
Would you like to see my basement? It's not to code.
Oh, God. Of course. Yeah.
You'll be the first and last person to see it.
Yes.
No one can hear you scream down there.
Exactly.
It's soundproofed. No, I paid for that.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, as far as like the movie went, what were your favorite character interactions that we hadn't seen before?
Well, it was all the crossover stuff.
Yeah.
That I had said. I mean, it was like, it was the Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. That was fantastic because, you know, Star-Lord is he's the badass in his group, and then here comes an actual god, and he feels so bummed. I love that. Like,
It's like high school dynamic.
Yeah, it was
it
totally
totally was.
Superhero high school.
Yeah, stop touching his muscles.
Yeah.
and everyone's like, wow, they're so big, and he's like, they're not that big. Like, I work out
like-
too. It was so
I'm a literal god.
yeah. He's
Yes.
What the fuck are you talking about?
like,
Yeah.
So that was
It's like,
funny to
how
me.
is this guy still alive? I'm like, oh, he's not a guy. He's a man.
Yeah. That shit was hilarious to me. The other one was, well, some of the you know, I love Mark Ruffalo as Dr. Banner.
Yes.
And in this one, how he's struggling, like he and Hulk are not getting along.
Right. Hulk won't come out.
Hulk won't come out.
Because he gets his ass kicked at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and what basically the Hulk has PTSD from getting his ass kicked from Thanos. Now,
Hulk's kind of a punk.
yeah, I don't know, because he never got beaten
like
down
it.
that before. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you remember the Infinity Wars trailers, when that big fight in Wakanda's happening, in the trailer, you see Hulk there. Like, you know, running with everybody.
It's like Green Lives Matter.
Yeah. But in the actual movie, it's he's not there.
Right.
So it's interesting. Like, was it a misdirection? Was it deliberately Marvel kind of misleading you? Or what it was a more practical reason is because a lot of times the trailer editors get the footage before the footage is finalized. So they cut the trailer before they made that decision to make the change.
Well, to that end, too, to your other question, the other thing I liked was the interaction of the non-Wakandans in Wakanda for that battle sequence.
Yes.
There was some hilarious shit. I don't want
Right.
to spoil, but there was some cool where it was like, oh, you couldn't have done that the whole that was great.
There was some great stuff.
Yeah,
in
it was everything you would want a crossover superhero mashup dance party to be.
Yeah,
It's just-
I think one of the other character dynamics I really liked was Iron Man and Doctor Strange, because you have the two most egotistical characters literally butting heads the entire time, because each one thinks the other one is an egotistical asshole, and they're both right.
And they
That's
each
what's so
think the
great.
other one's dumber than them.
Right,
so they're both brilliant minds. So
Right.
that was great. And he keep calling him the wizard. Or
Yeah, yeah.
Throwing shade. Is this for you guys, like seeing different groups of friends all hanging out for the first time?
Yes,
Yes.
pretty much.
You're like, are they going to get along?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, they don't.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah.
What?
Have you seen any of the Marvel movies, or are you like a fan, a casual fan, or just avoid them?
I'm a casual fan, but I definitely am not as balls deep as you guys are. I saw is Wonder Woman a Marvel movie?
That's DC.
I'm so sorry.
That's
I know
all right.
that's like sacrilege, and you guys are anti.
Yeah.
I've dated a lot of nerds, and I'm like, I know what I'm saying is really fucked up right now. But no, I can't say that I have. I feel like I get this way with the Star Wars movies, and I keep going back to them and feeling like a piece of shit after I leave because they get worse and worse. So I'm like, I can't bring another one into my life. I can't.
Well, let's ask you this question then, because I had this emotional reaction driving here when I saw Han Solo billboard. You know, I'm still on the high of Infinity War, and then I see that billboard, I'm like, I don't know. How do you feel about Han Solo coming out as a Star Wars nerd? The trailers you've seen, that's your one word.
Yeah,
we had the same reaction.
Yeah, I like again. I'm gonna see it because I have to, and I have such emotional attachments to these movies from being a kid. I feel similarly about Harry Potter. Like when someone told me that they were doing like a Harry Potter spin-off type thing, I'm like, it's not going to be like the original, but I'm going to consume everything because I'm chasing the high of the original feeling when I saw these things. So I'll see it. I'll take deep breaths. You know, I'll try.
Did you like Rogue One?
It was okay. I didn't love it.
How'd you feel about Force Awakens?
Good. I liked it more.
Okay.
I liked it more. Yeah, I haven't felt passionately good about one probably since the originals. You know, the one where Princess Leia makes a cameo, is that Force Awakens? No, that's Rogue One. Okay, right. Yes.
Where she's digitally put in.
Yeah, that one it was, you know,
right.
Yeah, there were good moments. I enjoyed the ass kicking. I enjoy the fighting. I can get riled up with it, but
and Darth Vader going crazy on the rebels.
Yeah, it was cool, but it didn't feel as good as the originals. But it's high standards, and it's also like you see it when you're a kid, so it's like it's nostalgia.
It's imprinting.
Yes,
it's like well, it's never going to be as good as seeing it as a kid.
And this is the advantage that the Marvel movies have. Our imprinting is from the comic book.
Okay,
right.
We didn't grow up with a bunch of Marvel movies. They tried, we didn't. But they didn't really. And the ones in the 90s weren't that great.
Spider-Man show with a costume that didn't even fit.
Yeah, the Hulk TV series, which I loved. The Bill Bixby one. But so...
That was probably the closest.
That was the closest. Yeah. And that's why I'm so loyal.
And even that is unwatchable now.
It's such a 70s TV show. It's really... It's like... It's Streets of San Francisco with a green dude. You know what I mean? It's really...
Like he's painted.
Yeah. Totally. It's Lou Ferrigno clearly painted. So that's the advantage, is Marvel is showing us now, for the first time, how awesome taking one genre and putting it on the screen looks. Whereas Star Wars, we were like imprinted at a very young age. This is this world. These are these characters. This is what it looks like. It sounds like. So it's Star Wars has a tougher battle really to try to turn us around, in my opinion.
Sure, but then they have Darth Maul, and like they have all the goofy characters. And you're like, you do have a tough battle, but you're bringing out the red guy with all the dicks coming out of his head. Like, really?
The double-ended dildo.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel your empathy for them, but I don't know. I don't know about it.
Yeah, because I think like, and we talked because we talked about this a lot with when Force Awakens came, and when. If you go back and watch A New Hope, okay, that movie is not that great. It sticks in all of our memories because we saw it when we were kids, but it's like, as far as just a movie, I understand now why when I was a kid, like my parents and adults were like, all right, guys, well, because it's like, I'm going to go to John's Station and get some power converters, it's got all those lines and that kind of stuff. But because when we saw it, we were kids, it was so awesome for us.
And it was a product of the time, and also it had special effects that were never seen before.
That was really cool.
It was a groundbreaking film on many different levels.
He shot with the models. I mean, George Lucas did all that stuff with the model. Like that was really cool.
He retained merchandising rights. there was a lot of stuff that never happened before.
That was the most brilliant move everyone ever done in the history of anything.
And got somebody fired at Fox.
Yeah. So who thought they'd want to buy dolls for this dumb movie?
It's like
they'll buy all the dolls.
All of them.
They'll buy everything.
Decades. They'll be worth millions of dollars.
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, so that's the thing. Like, because all we have for the Marvel universe is the comics until these movies came out.
Right.
And since they did such a good job with using the source material and then expanding them for this different visual medium.
Because my kids didn't grow up on the comics; they're growing up on the films.
Right.
So it's a different frame of reference.
Yeah.
Do they buy the dolls and everything right away? Are they all in on it in the way that you were with the books?
No, they enjoy the films. Like my son will buy the toys periodically, but like he's into Legos, so it'll be like if he buys like the superhero Lego sets and those. But as far as the comics go, like sometimes they'll read the comics, but it's not a priority for them. Like for us, growing up with the comics, then seeing the movie, but then we would also then go back to the comics because we liked both mediums.
Sure.
So I think really it's interesting that they're getting their first really taste of these characters in movies instead of the original source material, which is the comics.
Well, you also get to, like, with Harry Potter, again, like, I read all of the books. Watching the movies was exciting to me to see what a director is going to do with this content.
Right.
Like
starting with the third one, yeah.
Sure. But when the movies got a lot darker, I was getting older and I enjoyed it more because I'm like, I feel like I'm aging with this. And
that was the plan for the books.
Yeah.
The way when J.K. Rowling wrote the books. She's like, well, my audience is aging, so each book is going to get darker.
Yeah.
So, but Andrew, that brings up a good point. So it's similar to the Marvel thing, since your first introduction to Harry Potter was the books, and you were how old when you started reading them?
Like maybe 8 or 9, something like that.
Right. So they had a pretty solid impact on you.
Of course. They're simple, but I was a young person. And then they got more complex as I aged, and I bought everything I could.
And it didn't even stop, Graham. Like right now, there's a play on Broadway.
Yes.
It's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. These characters as adults.
Yeah.
So you literally you've grown with these characters, and J.K. Rowling just like after said, well, no, the 7th book, that's it. But oh no, wait, here comes a play with further adventures of Harry Potter and everyone. And you know what? I figured I probably wouldn't get to New York to see the play. I bought the book that has the script in it.
Someone told me about the book, and I thought it was a new book, and I got so excited.
It's actually a script of the play.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
And it's but it's still really good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's really good. But so if the play ever starts touring, and I'm sure it will after spending a decade on Broadway or wherever, however, of sold out shows. Because the other thing that it, which is so brilliant, is that it's in 2 parts. So you literally have to go to the theater 2 nights in a row to see the entire play.
They're learning from these Marvel movies.
Yeah, so you're literally, it's like, well, why should we sell 1 ticket when we can sell 2?
And drinks.
So,
and blah, blah,
merchandise.
So,
and whatever else.
exactly. So, and that it just started on Broadway. So.